a personal retrospective of the year that's just ending is a great way to set yourself up to set even better goals for the coming year. Hi, I'm Dan Ross from the Silicon Valley Hypnosis Center. And often we need to put a completion on something before we can open up something else. And if you look at corporations, they will do year-end retrospectives, they'll do project retrospectives. And what that means is they'll look at what transpired, what went well, what didn't go well, and what lessons they can take from that. And the same thing can apply to your personal life, because very often people will, unfortunately, in sort of the worst cases, they'll set a resolution for something that's a little bit vague at the beginning of the year. They'll kind of forget about it, or they'll break it and go, oops, that's gone. But even people who are very diligent about setting goals and even achieving goals often skip a little bit of a step, which is, okay, what will we take from this year before we go and we plan the next year, and we design or plan, what it is we want to do in that next year. So I recommend doing a little bit of a personal retrospective. You can spend anywhere from a few minutes to this on this to to an hour or more, right? But it's to take those lessons and to apply them to next year. So I'm just going to read off a few questions that you can pause the video and you can write down. I'll say them slow enough with a little bit of enough break that you can kind of contemplate it for a moment. And there's many questions that we could ask, so I'll keep it to roughly a handful because, again, this can be as simple or as complicated as needed, but let's keep it relatively simple. So I think the first thing to do is just to kind of go back and look at what happened over the last year. So you might go through a calendar and just kind of see what were the events that happened in each month. And that will kind of prompt you to kind of just kind of go over and review the year in your mind. And you can journal it out, journal type it or write it. You can kind of play a movie in your mind of, what the year looked like. And you want to look for certain things that will start to stand out, but just kind of get a sense of the year first. And then one of the questions to ask is, what went well? What went great? What went my way? And you want to capture the good. I always invite people to start with the good first. So what went well? And then you can just make a list of those things or write out a few paragraphs or whatever, and you can pause here if you need to. And then once you've gotten what went well, there might be a learning from that. Well, what did I learn, right? It might be like, oh, I'm more capable than I thought I was. Or, those things that I worried about, they actually did work out. Or at least that one thing that I was so worried about or thought was going to be too big a goal or was not going to happen, it actually worked, right? Again, it might be something about recognizing your own capability, your own skill, your own ability to set and achieve goals. So then, once you've taken kind of that, those are some lessons to look at what didn't go well. What were some things that didn't work out the way you wanted? I don't like the word failure, so we just look at what didn't work, what didn't go your way, what were some of the things that didn't work, or some things that came along that you hadn't anticipated that maybe you didn't deal with well. So these are just good things to capture. And again, you can make a list, you can write it out. And then again, what did you learn from that? What's something I could learn so that this coming year, or if I'm faced with that kind of situation some other time in the future, what can I learn so that it goes differently next time? And my recommendation is to take the learning of something that's within your control. So, I could have noticed this earlier. I could have done this thing differently, right? Something that's within your control is easier to change than something that's outside of your control, like somebody else doing something or saying something. One other question you can ask is, just what are you proud of, right? So we've had this little bit of a retrospective, what happened, what went well, what didn't go so well, but to really just cement it back into that positive, to think about some of those achievements and to feel that pride, not just to kind of get it up here, but to really feel pride or a sense of accomplishment, whatever positive emotions go with having achieved all these things. And sometimes we can only end up looking at like thing goals, like things that happened. And I would invite you to, if you haven't already, make sure that your list includes experiences. What were some of the positive emotions? What were some of the highlights of your year just emotionally? It could be a great connection with a friend, or something that really blossomed in your relationship, or some kind of just really positive feeling in relation to your career or business. And these are things you can be proud of. And um, since these are feelings and emotions, you can set some intention. You can begin to set some intention so that when you go to set goals, that what do you want more of, right? So there's two twin questions here. What do you want less of? So the things that happen that now maybe the things that happen were such good learning experiences you wouldn't want to trade them, right? But maybe it's just less of like resisting the lesson, right? But there might be certain things you want less of, certain negative internal emotions, responses to external events, whatever that is. So what do you want less of in the next year? And what do you want more of? Could be more of something that's outside yourself or something material. That's all fine, right? I got a promotion. I want another promotion. I want more of that. I want more advancement, right? It could also be, I was just really feeling grounded this year and I want more of that, even more of it. So, and then you can just think of like, what are a few words that just describe the year that's passed, and one or two or three words that would describe the year that's coming. And you can utilize this process before you set goals for the next year, because then there can be sort of a clarity around what happened. And you can kind of leave behind what needs to be left behind and take the lessons, take the learning, take all the good, take the growth that came from the negatives, which hopefully there was growth that came out of that. And then that can prime you for sort of a clean slate so that when you set goals for the coming year, that there's not any like attachment or heaviness or weight or anything holding you back from this year that's just completing. So try this out. You can go back and watch this again and pause it and really take some time to answer these questions. And you can make up some of your own questions to add to it or modify them to your taste. But really take some time to do that, to really just kind of put a bow on this year and prepare yourself for next year.